Israel-Palestine conflict has taken a turn for the worse. Now, there's a full-blown war. But what's the root cause of this conflict that has spanned for decades? Is it about religion, ethnicity, control over land, or something else? Today we have Geeta Mohan with us. She is the executive editor here at India Today and is a foreign editor for us. So, ma'am, thank you for giving us this time. I actually want to start with, there's a lot of things going on about the timeline of this entire event ever since October 7th. Who started it? Is it true that Hamas is the one who launched this, this attack, and now Israel is doing a counter-attack? Was there no attacks before? So could you give us a timeline about what happened ever since October 7th?
Well, Kivlin, to begin with, the attack itself on the 7th of October shook Israel and the world, unprecedented, unmatched in terms of the manner and the kind in which Hamas attacked Israel. But in terms of what happened first and what came first, that's relative, Kivlin, because we do not know, one can't say whether if the action of Israel is a retaliation to the October 7th attack, or the October 7th attack in itself is a retaliation to Israeli action before that. The past 1.5 years to 2 years has been rather difficult for Palestinians in the West Bank and in Gaza. For our viewers, let's just explain the map a little. If you see the map, Israel always considers that it is surrounded by hostile neighbors. Why so? Because it is in the Arab world.
Correct.
And the Arab world that is Muslim dominated do find cause or do support the Palestinian cause. So in this map you can see Israel and you can see Gaza on one end of the spectrum and West Bank on the other, which also has East Jerusalem, the old city of East Jerusalem.
So right now, can you also explain where is all of this happening?
Yes.
We just strike Syria, and where is this happening?
So if you look at the entire attack, the attack or the counter-offensive that is ongoing right now by the Israeli forces, that's happening in Gaza. That's called the Gaza Strip. 2.2 million people, Palestinians, live in a 365-kilometer geographical space. So in terms of density of population, it's said that Gaza Strip is the most densely populated place on the planet. Now what is happening is, if we continue about the map, from 1948, we can go back centuries, but we're not going to do that. Let's stick to contemporary history and politics. So in 1948, or let's start from 1947 and look at the lay. That's Palestine for you. There was no Israel. 1948, Israel is created. A space is given, and you can see the map with West Bank and Gaza and the rest of Israel. This solution was brought upon or was handed to the Palestinians or the Arab world back then by the British.
Oh.
So post World War II, there were many Jews, displaced Jews, and when they were asked about when they were seeking a homeland, it is Britain along with their allied partners, including the United States of America, but particularly Britain, that then carved out this place in the midst of the Arab world. And if you see the map and you see how big the area was of West Bank and Gaza, they almost connected from one end to the other spectrum through a small, strip of land. Come the 67 war of the 6-day war that it's called, Israel took over the entire area. This area continued to remain under their control. Now slowly around 2005, after a lot of negotiations, a lot of talks, the Israeli forces finally left Gaza. Are people in Gaza completely in control? No, the United Nations in fact says that it's still controlled by Israel. Why? Because anybody who has to enter or exit Gaza, or even food that needs to go in and out, water, electricity. They're completely dependent on Israel. That is one context of how troubled Palestinians have been for a very long time. Again, over here we're not justifying an attack.
Correct.
It is one of the worst attacks where civilians have been killed, and there should be no condoning of a terror attack. But coming back to the history of this, what happened this year, from last year onwards, what happened was we've seen the Sheikh Jarrah settlement of the Palestinians, where Palestinians have been asked to leave their homes. Then you have this year itself, from the beginning of this year, you've had Ben Gvir barricade the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, from Gaza, let's move to the West Bank. West Bank is where the old city of East Jerusalem is, which houses the holy sites for three religions: Jews, Muslims, and Christians. All of them have their holiest sites in the old city of Jerusalem. And what happened in the beginning of Ramadan this year, or Ramzan as we say, this year, was that they fenced the entire area. One of the gates, that's called the Damascus Gate, was fenced
By whom?
by
The
the
Israelis.
Israeli forces, because they said they wanted to control the numbers, and Palestinians thought they were trying to stop them from going to their place of worship during Ramzan. And protests followed. Then there was an incident over there. For the first time, you saw the Temple Mount being breached by Israeli forces. It had never happened before. Refugee camps have been bombed and raided. Their homes are raided every now and again. People have to take permission to leave their homes in the morning. They don't know if they'll be able to go to West Bank to work and come back or not. So there were a lot of reasons for provocation.
So you're saying that the Hamas strike that we saw on October 7th is not unprecedented. It had a
It is unprecedented, but it has a backstory to it.
But do you think the time right now has any significance?
Absolutely. There are a few major factors wherein we think the timing was of great importance. One is that the attack took place exactly 50 years from the time the first attack took place, and this was again during their religious festival. Secondly, it also was a time where we were seeing normalization of ties between Israel and the Arab world, something that had started concerning Palestine, because they thought that their cause will be diluted.
The defense secretaries and even Netanyahu are very openly saying that they're going to, quote unquote, destroy Gaza. So now does it give a free hand to Israel to sort of invade Gaza?
That's a very important question. Israel has vowed to completely clean Hamas out, which means that in Gaza you would not know which is a Hamas hideout, which is not. And like most of the Israelis say, that they have their hideouts under in the basements of hospitals and government schools, so on and so forth. A UN-run school was bombed just a day ago. The death toll has gone way beyond what Israel suffered in terms of civilian casualties in Gaza alone. So that's going to be very difficult for the international community to really consume. After a certain while, they will have to intervene and say thus far and no further. One needs to take out Hamas, but not at the cost of such huge civilian casualty. Also, the Arab world will not sit quietly and see Israel bombing the daylights out of Gaza. So there is going to be, maybe after a certain point, certain time, because what Israel has witnessed has been not just shocking, but it also shows that every country is vulnerable. There was a time when this was the most enviable, agency ever on the planet. Today, everybody is questioning whether they're good enough. How did they not know of this? Because this is not an attack that could have been planned overnight.
Correct.
This was a long drawn planned attack, and meticulously. Why do I say meticulous? They knew where to enter from. They not only knew how to enter, it's like a Chakra View, right? Now, when we talk about Chakra Views, giving the Mahabharata reference, if we talk about Chakra View, you know how to enter, but if you don't know how to exit, you will never get out. So in Israel, if you've entered, you should know how to get out, because the Israeli forces completely surround. The entire thing comes to a halt, screeching halt. That did not happen. They not only entered, they took hostages and they've gone out. It almost seems like the people in Gaza saying, "Jo hoga dekha jayega."
But I have a question on that. You're saying the people in Gaza saying "Jo hoga dekha jayega," but the visuals coming out of the attack, the Hamas attack, were chilling. The people who were taking captives, and the videos that are viral on social media. But now the visuals that are coming out of Gaza are chilling, like the way.
Which is why I'm saying, you think Hamas did not know? Hamas knows that they do not have the might to counter Israel.
But the people in Gaza, I now want to know the generic. Is there a generic people in
There
Gaza?
is a lot
do
of-
they support Hamas?
There is a lot of support for Hamas, not because of anything else, because Hamas also became an armed militia coming from oppression. So the people are suffering it. They're all one. Their families are part of the Hamas militia. Look, Netanyahu was the man who actually, to contain the Palestinian Authority in West Bank, to contain President Mahmoud Abbas, to contain them, he allowed the festering and the breeding of Hamas. So, and when elections took place in Gaza, they ousted the Palestinian Authority and Hamas took control of Gaza.
Yeah.
Who allowed that? Under whose watch was that happening? Just because you wanted to contain the Palestinian Authority. And today you have Hamas, which is a far worse enemy to have than to have a political group that keeps opposing, keeps going, keeps talking, making speeches at the United Nations. Hamas does not do that.
Where do you see this going in the future?
That's again a very important question. From here, where do they go? The peace accords have come to a screeching halt. There is going to be no forward movement there. World is watching. You already have Qatar, United Nations, all these other countries that are that play mediating role. Turkey is now stepping in saying we would like to play a mediating role. But everybody is looking to whether if there can be a ceasefire as soon as possible. Doesn't look like Israel is in any mood right now to go and agree to a ceasefire. So there's a heavy price that Gaza will pay. We do not know what the future of Gaza looks like, because it will be very difficult to go back in and take control of Gaza now. Where they do have other forces such as the Hezbollah. We know that US has moved its aircraft carrier. But despite that, they will find support should Israelis try to get into Gaza all over again and take control. But if that happens, it would be the beginning of the end of not just Hamas, but a lot of the Palestinian struggle and fight for the Palestinian cause. On the other hand, if they're not able to, and it's long drawn, then there will be intervention from the international community on the civilian lives being lost. And there will be a lot of introspection that will have to be done for not just for Israel and Israel's leadership, but also for the world that did not really come out and show this kind of outrage when the Palestinians were suffering, and especially the past 1.5 to 2 years.
In the longer run, you talked about ceasefire right now, but in the longer run, to actually solve the Israel-Palestine issue once and for all, what is the solution? Is two-state solution still possible?
See, a two-state solution is the only way forward. India also believes in a two-state solution, so does the United States of America and all other countries. Everybody is agreed on the idea that at the end of the day, and all the UN resolutions especially, are agreed on the idea that at the end of the day, the only solution can be through a two-state solution theory. What does it basically say? It says that Palestine is also a state and should be accorded the position and the honor and respect of a nation, which Palestine has not got for forever. If you have a two-state solution, you will have to redraw or boundaries or agree to the erstwhile agreed upon boundaries. I don't think Israel would want to do that right now, because they have an advantage over Palestine and advantage of having more land. At the end of the day, every fight is not just about religion and ethnicity, it's also primarily to do with land.
For more informative videos like this, keep watching India Today Newsmo.